Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Sarah.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Okay. So before we get started, all right,
Mhm.
before we go into today's session, is there any circumstances you would like to share with me before we begin?
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing I can think of.
Okay. All right. So recently I had you take a human metrics typology test.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were given 4 letters at the end of your test, per se.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And so before I go into too much detail with these 4 letters, really what this assessment tool was used to do is to provide you with a more self-awareness of your personality.
Okay.
Okay. So each of these 4 letters are associated with your personality.
Okay.
Right? Also, another thing I would like you to keep in mind is the 4 letters that you were provided with are not set in stone. Okay, associated with your personality. More so, it's just your comfort zone. Okay, so this is how you're carrying out day to day, is associated with these 4 letters. Think of a football. Okay, what hand do you throw a football with?
My left.
Your left. Okay, so these 4 letters are you throwing a football with your left hand. All right. Like I said, you can go to other letters, but it's just more like you're trying to throw a football with your right hand instead.
Gotcha.
Okay. So you can do it, it's just not as comfortable.
Right. Okay, I see. Yeah.
All right. As we go through these, one thing I would like you to do also is to kind of keep in mind how these are applying to your current career.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So the first letter is where do you direct your energy? All right. With that being said, it's more so where do you direct your energy at the day's end? Okay. You received an I. All right, this I represents introvert versus an extrovert. It says that you're more quiet and reserved, you're more of a listener, and you can be energized by being alone.
Yep, I agree with that.
All right, with that being said, all right, it does not mean you are quiet and reserved and just much rather be by yourself all the time. Okay, so Friday night comes along, you have a football game.
Yeah.
Okay. During the football game, you're right there with the coaches. You're right there with the players. You're energized, okay? But what's it like after a football game for you?
Well, it depends on if we win or lose. But most of the time, I usually just want to go home and relax with my wife and just pretty much go to bed. I'm pretty much ready to just kind of wind down and don't really want to do a whole lot. Just want to just go relax.
And another thing, although that is a part of your career, in terms of being inside of your classroom, I know last session we discovered that you were a teacher.
Yeah.
And with that being said, being an introvert, you know, the data kind of supports that you're more than likely inside of your classroom versus wandering the halls. Can you agree with that, or?
Yeah. During my planning period in particular, I don't go visit with other teachers. I usually just sit down, I put my headphones in, I look at, just browse the internet, or I'm working on grading papers or lesson planning. Yeah, usually I'm in my class during downtime.
Okay. So the second letter, the question refers to how do you take in information? All right, are you intuitive or are you more of a sensor? And you received an N, which represents you are intuitive. You're more big picture. You like to know about the future, kind of think about the future and what you plan to do in your future. You may dislike work requiring precision. Okay, but at the same time, you're okay with new problems arising. So let's say you solve something and then all of a sudden a new problem kind of comes about, but you're okay with that. You just are going to work towards ways of solving that. With that being said, can you think of any situations within your career right now, whether it's at work, being a teacher, being a football coach, taking master's classes, can you think of any situations where this really shines through?
I definitely like knowing where we're headed in terms of planning in the classroom, planning football practice and a game. I definitely think that part of my personality comes into play.
Okay.
The the wanting to know what's going to happen, as so to speak. Definitely, I'm a planner, no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind.
Okay. All right. And the third letter discusses, or relates to rather, how do you process your information? And 2 letters are available for that, and you received a T. All right. That means you're a thinker. Okay. With that being said, you're a little bit more blunt, not in so much that you're coming off as rude to people, but you just kind of have an idea of what you want to say, and you're able to say it after you've thought about it. You can handle debate, and you can also be assertive in nature. Okay, whereas your feeling people, or your people who might have received an F, they're more people pleasers. Okay, they can attempt to avoid conflict. They're more of the gray, whereas you, being a T, you're more black and white.
Yes. So yes, I definitely like to know a yes or a no. I don't like the, well, such and such happened. I don't have my homework because either yes I have it done or no I don't. I don't. Excuses aren't my thing. It's yes or no. I definitely black and white, no doubt in my mind.
Okay. And then the fourth letter represents how you implement, process information. 2 options or 2 possibilities for these are a judger or perceiver. Okay, and you received a J. Right? And in fact, looking at your results, it said that you had a moderate preference of judging over perceiving, whereas in the other 3 letters, you only had a slight preference. Actually, with this letter, you had 38% judging over perceiving. You're a planner, okay? You're an organizer. We are fawns on decisions. So if we have a due date, we just need to know the due date, and we're able to work towards that due date. Another thing, we like to work first and play second. Okay, and we're not so comfortable with change. Right. So can any of those aspects that I just discussed with you, are they made apparent within your career?
Definitely, I have to have a due date. I have to know. They just have to tell me what to do. I don't just say do a project over X. I have to know. Okay, I'm doing this project over X, but they want me to define it, they want me to explain it, compare it to something, so on and so forth, and I want to know when it's due. The loose timeline, to me, that's like a lack of structure, and that I can't handle that, and definitely change is something that is not ideal for me, especially if it's blindsided me. If I know it's coming, I can plan for it. I think we talked about planning. Was that in a different letter, or did we already talk about planning?
It's associated with this letter.
Okay, so definitely goes with that. If I can plan for change, then it's not a big deal. But if I walk into school in the morning and they say you're teaching English, I might have a meltdown. So. Yeah, I can definitely see, especially this last one. Yeah, it says moderate, but definitely I have to know what's going on, and I have to know what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, when it needs to be done, so on and so forth. Definitely, yeah.
All right. So those, again, is just a very brief explanation of your 4-letter personality type. And now that we've kind of discussed each of the letters, information was also provided on possible careers that might fit well with your personality type. With that being said, to jump right off the page for me from our last session, 1 was a scientist and a teacher. Right. So with that being said, you kind of fall into both being a science teacher. You're telling me about structure. You love structure.
Yes.
So I think that really might help fit the scientist portion of your career. And then just being a teacher, you're able to convey information to your students and maybe even your coworkers in a more assertive manner. So as we kind of wrap up this session here, do you feel that these 4 letters representative representative of your personality align well with your career?
I think so. The introvert, I've always kind of wondered about introvert versus extrovert in terms of being a teacher. But like you said his personality test is more of an end of day type thing, not as opposed to how certain situations or something like that. It's more of a cumulative, a holistic test. So, but I think this pretty well hits the nail on the head for the most part. Judging, definitely big one. That one to me, I definitely agree with that 100%. Definitely, yeah. It was interesting to answer these questions and for you to explain that to me. It was, yeah. I just found it neat that being a scientist and a teacher were both on this list for me. So that makes me think that I've chosen the right career, or at least that's aligned to my personality, so to speak.
Okay. All right, and so now that you've kind of explained that for me and just furthered your explanation, and thank you for that, is there anything within your current career that you feel does not align well with your personality?
I think I need to be better dealing with sudden change. We call it with itness in teaching. That's something I'm trying to work on, but it kind of showed me in this test that it kind of conflicts with my personality. So that's something I'm trying to work on. And sometimes I think that I don't have enough compassion sometimes for sometimes when kids have an excuse as to why they didn't do their homework or if they're having a bad day. That's something else I think I need to work on. I would like to see myself trend closer to feeling, I guess. But I guess I'm pretty much on that line. That's what slight means. So as I'm not radically to one side or the other. So I guess I'm okay there, but definitely just reflecting on like last year, for example, I think I need to work more on just looking at these two words, feeling aspect versus thinking, black and white, yes and no. I need to consider context over just a straightforward answer.
Okay, well, and again, one important thing to keep in mind is this is just kind of your default mode in terms of personality. So this doesn't mean you're set in stone. It's just like you're trying to throw a football with your right hand versus your left hand. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't go and venture out into the more feeling over the thinking. Do you have any other questions for me?
So this is like not every situation. This is just like some situation, or like overall, like default mode, like you said.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah, so this is nothing set in stone. This is just what you feel more comfortable. And like I said, if you look at your three top letters with me, introvert, you were at a 6%, your N, you were at 12%, and thinking, you were at 9%. So those all pertain to being a slight preference. So this is just what you tend to do more, or you feel more comfortable doing versus the other letter.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And like you pointed out, just that moderate preference really comes into the judging over the perceiving, and you were at a 38% there.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Well, I think it wraps up this session.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time. I greatly appreciate it.